Ladies and gentlemen, I actually wanted to drop a video on this, but I think it's better to do this via live stream. I wanted to talk about what we have seen recently in the last, or heard of in the last 48 hours since this weekend. And that is, as you saw, if you looked at the flyer for tonight's broadcast, I called it Here Comes Satan Claus. And there's a difference between Satan and Santa Claus, obviously. But I referenced that because we are seeing our children more and more be exposed to people like Lil Nas X, fools like Lil Nas X and Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion promoting this nasty crap. You guys can actually see from the post. I wanted to drop a video on this, but you guys actually know what this flyer is about. We're going to get it started. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Here Comes Satan Claus. On Channel Gboot2786, get the holy water out. We're going to need it. We're starting right now. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on Channel Gboot2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. If you're tuning in via Gavin Richard on my other YouTube channel, if you're tuning in on Facebook on Gavin Richard, or if you're tuning in on Periscope, Gavin Rich 2786, I thank you for tuning in. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes up if you're a first-time watcher. of this channel, to this platform. I appreciate any love that you guys can subdue. You can also donate to the channel at the bottom. We're talking about this video, Montanero, that came out over the weekend. It's Lil Nas X. I even hate calling him that. And he apparently had a lot of imagery in it. It certainly has stirred up a lot of controversy. And we're going to be discussing that in the next few minutes. But we're talking overall exposing the satanic agenda that they have in Hollywood and within the music industry. And I'm going to be discussing that real shortly. Those that want to comment should leave a comment in the chat. Those that are interested, please feel free to talk. Hello, shout out to Brother Bernard. What's up, Jaleel? I like that song, man. All right, we're not going to waste further time with this. So you guys already know what this is about. I first and foremost remember, okay, first and foremost, welcome to the platform. Welcome again to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on Channel Gboot2786. We do this Sundays. We do this Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's random topics, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I do my live stream with everyone. You know, I was debating whether to just do a straight video on this, but I thought it would be better to do the live stream on this one because this is taking social media by storm with what's going on. And, you know, it relates to some bigger things that have happened in my time, you know, or here in the country. I remember as a kid growing up, if you were a kid from the late 80s, early 90s, you remember how they used to say things, how music was a bad influence on the youth. I remember, well, I don't remember this because this was a little bit before my time, but back in the 1980s, there were a source of albums, musics that came out about around 1985, I would say. And it relates to Lil Bussy X. I'm going to call him that because he was doing nothing but producing on that. I don't even want to share the video. I can't even share the video because even if I turn the volume down, YouTube will hit me with a copyright claim. They did it to Queen Shakur. She actually talked about it on Brother Bernard's channel. And what I want to show you all, let me stop the screen and I want to share something else. Okay, those of you, put the likes up or say yes if you remember this back in the 80s. I don't know how young or old you are, but this here is the Parents Music Resource Center. Now, those that don't know, is that this group, which was co-founded by Tipper Gore. Tipper Gore is the wife of former Vice President Al Gore. Al Gore was a senator back in the 80s before he was Bill Clinton's running mate. And she, Tipper Gore, along with James Baker, who was the Treasury Secretary under Ronald Reagan, they formed the Parents Music Resource Center, which was to basically look into music. Now, eventually they grew to only 22 participants and they got shut down back in the mid to late 90s. And the reason why they were formed was because they wanted to increase parental control over access of the music that children had. Back in the 80s, you started to have that rebellious group of music. So for instance, like you can look down here, you know, they suggested a voluntary move by the Recording Industry and Association of America and the music industry to develop music labeling in the form of a rating system, similar to the film rating system that's in the MPAA, the American Picture Association, Motion Picture Association of America, which decides your ratings. Around the 80s, and that's huge too. What happened in around 84, 85 was that back in that time, the movie industry created the PG-13 rating, in particular after the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. That was one of the reasons why it was created. Also because I think of the Gremlins movie. There were a lot of movies that came, and also Red Dawn. There were a lot of movies that came out in the 80s that really could have been an R-rated film, I guess, by their standards because of the violence that was in the films. And they decided to put up a rating system, a new rating system, a new rating. So they did PG-13, meaning, you can't see a film that's not suitable for children under the age of 13. So they had some songs, and you could see there are 15. They called it the Filthy 15. And you can look right there. Number one, of course, is the Black Man, Prince, with Darling Nikki. You had Sheena Easton with Sugar Walls, Judas Priest, Eat Me Alive, Vanity, Motley Crue, AC/DC, Twisted Sister, Madonna, Wasp, Def Leppard, and I don't even listen to these guys. So, Def Leppard, Merciful Fate, Black Sabbath, Mary Jane Girls, Venom, and Cyndi Lauper. Now, of course, this was not alone because they were not just the only ones. Those were the ones that they picked out. I remember even some records, you can't play them on YouTube because I'll get hit with a strike. But even songs like Another One Bites the Dust by Queen, they were accused of something called backmasking. Now, for time purposes, let me just show you right quick. Let's look at a song like their biggest single here in the United States, and I think their biggest song of all time actually is Another One Bites the Dust. And another interesting trivia on that, y'all know I like to throw that stuff out. Another One Bites the Dust, that was partly inspired because of the group Cheek. In particular, Bernard Edwards, who was the bass player for Cheek, he and Nile Rodgers, they were co-founders of that band, that group. The bass line was inspired by Good Times. Good Times, of course, is a song of all rap songs that created Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight. That bass line is sampled in that song. And yeah, I don't need that right now. Oh, yes, they've always promoted this stuff. See, let me just say this. They have always promoted this stuff. So don't act, they've been promoting stuff like this for a long time. They just put it in, at the time they just were hiding it. But now, and I guess this is a good thing that Lil Nas X did, they don't hide what they do. They don't hide the fact that they're devil worshippers. They don't hide this crap. Now, y'all can read here that co-founder Bernard Edwards stated that Queen record came about because that Queen bass player spent some time hanging out with us at our studio. John Deacon is the one who wrote the song. He's the bass player for Queen. And it was inspired by Good Times. And in fact, you listen to the opening bass part on it, it sounds just like that. Now, I can't play the song because I don't want to get hit with a copyright strike. And by the way, Michael Jackson had a role in it because apparently Michael told Queen to release the single, so thinking it would be a hit, and it was, and it sold well over, according to this report, the song's a worldwide hit. Spent 15 weeks in the Billboard Top 10, the longest running pop top 10 song of 1980. 13 weeks in the top 5 and 31 weeks total on the chart, more than any other song in 1980. I think it is their best song of all time. Now, there's something called backward masking. And what they would say in the 80s and call backward masking or backmasking is when these Christian televangelists or evangelists alleged that there were subliminal messages through a technique where they were put in. So, for instance, they claim that in the chorus of Another One Bites the Dust, you can hear, decide to smoke marijuana. It's from the smoke marijuana. And they denied that such message was in the song. A spokeswoman for Hollywood Records claimed that was not true. I don't want to play it because I'll get hit with a copyright strike again. And then, of course, I might let the devil in. Who knows? But you guys see the point of where I'm going with this stuff. They have always put subliminal messages in that. They've always put things in that. And when you look at, that song, it's no secret. When those songs, when you were a kid thinking of this stuff, you thought these people were crazy. But honestly, I don't think they were crazy. You didn't get it at first when you were little. Now, as I've gotten older, I'm in my 30s. I don't look it. I don't think they were crazy. You're seeing more and more of this crap. And Lil Nas X, or Lil Bussy X, I'm not going to call him Nas X. Bussy X had the nerve and gall earlier, too. It wasn't just that video that he did. Now, in the video, as I looked at it, let's talk about the video, for instance. One of the first things you see in it, I had a hard time even following it or trying to finish watching it because, hold on, let me turn the camera on right quick just to show y'all. Look who I got. Since we're talking about the Filthy 15, look who's on this shirt. I have Prince. But as I'm looking at the video, okay, I had a hard time struggling watching the video, mainly because I couldn't finish it. There's an opening scene that references where Lil X is walking through what looks like the Garden of Eden, and a snake coming from a tree, obviously the snake being Satan, is trying to seduce him. And at one point, the snake actually, or serpent, actually kisses your Lil Nas X. I couldn't watch, and I had to stop halfway through right there. Like how you see movies and you can't finish it? That's kind of how I was with that. What's up, Butterfly 70? That's exactly how it was. I could not finish watching that video. But then again, I wanted to come on here and talk about what I saw to share with you. And of course, there's one part in the film, I think in the middle, where Bussy X actually, he's in what looks like to be the Roman Colosseum of some sorts, or he's put on trial where he's in chains, and he has three individuals. It's actually, he plays three individuals in this scene, and of course he's doing his rapping song and so forth. The people are all cheering, and then near the end, he's ascending into heaven like an angel, and then all of a sudden, a stripper pole comes out, he goes down and it goes down and down into a dark abyss until finally you see the flaming magma, and he has descended from heaven to hell. And who, of course, is in hell but Satan himself, where he performs a seductive lap dance with the devil, or for the devil, I should say, and doing splits and shits and everything, uh, grinding on Satan, and busted it open. And even at one point, as Sean did an excellent analogy about the film, about the video, where he kills Satan, and then he puts his crown, Satan's horns on top of his head, as if he is replacing the devil. And that has image in and of itself. If we talk about that and look at it, it's basically saying that this black man is can be the devil, or is the devil incarnate. And that also, it relates to, it's also a buck breaking thing, mainly because you have a man performing a lap dance for the devil. I have never seen a white artist. I have never even seen a white artist, ladies and gentlemen, do that. Not Madonna, not Motley Crue, not even Ozzy Osbourne. I've never seen them go that far with this crap. Look at this. I know that's my flyer and also you can't see with all of the stuff on there, but hold on, let me see if I can pull up something else that'll make it a little better. Be brief with this. But this is the type of stuff. And I saw that this is the type of stuff that they're pushing on children. And Nas X himself said that they're trying to push that his target audience is children. That's who the target audience is. It's more than, because if we're going to be honest with ourselves, parents are not always there to stop their children and prevent their children from seeing things or listening to things that they may get on a regular basis. Realistically, you send your children to school because their school is a babysitter. School is essentially a free babysitter. It's a free babysitter. Your kids go there and they supposedly get, an education when you're going to these, to school. And we're going to talk about that in a minute, Butterfly 70. And so they're not there when they're with their children. No, Madonna has never shown she's shown a lot of hoeing. I mean, look, Madonna back in the 80s, I remember, early 90s, I remember when she had the erotica stuff that came out. That I remember in early 90s when she did that video, and she did an album where she was buck naked. And remember, Big Daddy Kane actually did the video with her. Big Daddy Kane actually took a hit in his career as a result of that. See, I remember stuff like that. But no, Madonna has never shown Satanism. And even though, I mean, yes, she has. She's just been subliminal with the stuff. But, she never showed her doing a lap dance with the devil. And then we had, shout out to the brother Jason Reed, because Jason Reed is the one that posted that picture of Lil Nas X. But this is what was actually, hold on. This is what he says. Shout out to Jason Reed. I'm gonna share this, but this is what was on his. This was what he said to NPR. Lil Nas X says children are his core audience right now, and that's okay. So you're showing this to children. They don't hide it. But he goes further. He says, y'all saying a gay nigga twerking on a CGI Satan is the end of the times, like slavery, and the Holocaust didn't happen. You see, people like this, ladies and gentlemen, we got to cut these Negroes. And cut these Negroes out. Excuse me. I'm not saying let me clarify that. I'm not saying to harm them physically. No, that's not what I mean. I want to clarify that. But you got to get these Negroes out of here. Stop buying their shoes. Stop buying their clothes. Don't promote their music. The music is crap anyway. I've only known of one song Lil Nas X did, and that was Old Time Road. That's it. That was his breakout song. Other than that, his music is crap. Music today in general is crap. You know, the artists that we had coming up, an artist like a Prince or a Michael Jackson, they actually had, or even a Stevie Wonder, a Marvin Gaye, those types of artists that we were blessed with, they actually wrote songs. They produced music that people could listen to. There was a message behind it. When you listen to Prince's Sign of the Times, he talks about social ills that goes on. And, you know, when he talks about, you know, the homelessness, issues of homelessness and the AIDS epidemic, those were issues that were plaguing this country and this world in the 1980s, 1986, 1987, when he wrote that. But you got Lil Nas X, Lil Bussy X busting it open for Satan. And there's a reason why they're doing it. They don't hide it. If there's anything positive about what Lil Nas X did, it's the fact that he's telling you what he's doing. Jaleel says Diamonds and Pearls is my favorite Prince song. I like even Lil Red Corvette. Lil Red, my personal favorite, I think if it outside of Purple Rain, you know, I like Lil Red Corvette. That's the drum machine, purple, you know, the use of the synthesizers, perfect 80s. And then you got people, I see Jack K was praising him. I don't know if you guys saw that. She said, you're doing Lil Montero proud. Like this old mammy. Y'all see why I told y'all last week when I was on the cool why Marla Gibbs had issues. I could see why Marla Gibbs had issues with Jack K. That she would go around praising some garbage like this. Look at that. Yeah, Lil Mama went in on her last week because she came at Lil Mama because Lil Mama's talking about a heterosexual rights month or heterosexual rights movement. I stand with Lil Mama. I stand with Lil Mama. She's 1,000% right. And niggas like this are gonna blame the black community. He's blaming the black community for how he came up as a kid and how this stuff wasn't acceptable and how he had to hide all this crap. Negro, shut up. Because first and foremost, let's get something straight. Black people have always fought for other groups. We have always fought for other groups. We fought for the Jews in World War II against Adolf Hitler, the Black Panther Tank Battalion, the Tuskegee Airmen. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget also the Asian community. We're talking about Stop Asian Hate. Well, hey, back in the 70s, when a lot of Asian groups, they were forbidding a lot of Asians from coming over into the United States, there were black people who were supporting that, supporting them, telling them, yes, come on over here. And what did they do? They set up shop in our business, in our communities. They made money off of us. And we're talking about Stop Asian Hate, and they treat black women and black men in particular like crap. Yeah, y'all can go look that up. Tariq Nasheed talks about that a lot. There was a letter that was signed by these black leaders back in the 70s. Ralph Abernathy and Coretta Scott King were included. I remember also in the 80s when you had leaders like Jesse Jackson and Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They actually went over to Iran to help free American hostages. Every major war that the United States has been in, a black man has taken up arms for this country. And yet they have the nerve to talk about Stop Asian Hate or black community is racist. We have no power. If we are more racist, it's to ourselves. But y'all should see this fool. Let me put up what he tweeted. This is the actual tweet that Lil Nas X put up. He says here, oh, great. I didn't want y'all to see that. Hold on. Sorry. This is it here. I spent my entire teenage years hating myself because of the shit y'all preached, what's happened to me because I was gay. But I hope you are mad, stay mad, feel the same anger you teach us to have towards ourselves. Negro, shut up. You had a whole political party, number one, that was against LGBTQ rights. Hell, even the Democrats at one point, they were against LGBTQ rights. The Democrats, of course, as we know, have completely taken the black community for granted. The Republicans have actually ignored the black community. Whenever you go and get in trouble, which you will happen to you, Lil Nas or Lil Bussy, I want you to remember this. When they don't need you anymore, you're going to come back running to the very community you dissed. When we push other agendas above our own, and we cape so hard for those people, when they get their rights, you are not needed anymore. And guess what? You will need black people supporting you one day. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. It will happen. It has happened. It happens because there are too many people, as it always happens, because when you live in this system that you do, especially even in the entertainment industry, which is the biggest, playpen right now in the entertainment industry, Hollywood and the music industry, Satan's playpen, they tend to, those careers don't last long. Even if you're highly successful, you will always go through a drought. The best have even had droughts. I mean, Prince had a drought. Michael had a drought. Some artists don't need, like Frankie Beverly and Mays, Stevie Wonder, those guys, of course, they don't need a comeback because they've had sold millions of records. Like Frankie Beverly, for instance, I know for a fact that every time he comes down to New Orleans, if every time he comes down to Baton Rouge, something about Louisiana, he's always going to sell out an arena. Prince can always sell out arenas. He did. Michael Jackson, being who he was, he would sell out 1,000 arenas. That's the type of impact that man had. We will not get an artist like that anymore. I had Al Lanier on, shout out to him, the journalist, and he made a remark about how the music industry is run so bad right now, that it's so wicked, that the mob running Las Vegas was better compared to it now. That's saying something. Because, you know, the mafia, for as bad as they were, and yes, they were criminals, they had a code of conduct. That's the one positive thing. That's a great thing I could say, if anything about the mafia that they did. You know, it's like what Bugsy Siegels told the the guy that was working on the Flamingo Hotel. Can't think of his name. He was the contractor, but he made the comment, "Don't worry, we only kill each other." The mafia, they don't go around killing quote unquote innocent people as much like talking about it. You know, they killed their own, especially if they crossed the line, if they broke rules, you know, stealing money of that nature. That's who got killed primarily. They didn't shoot up schools or anything like that. They didn't commit crimes against the church. They didn't go out and attack the elderly, things of that nature. Now, I'm not defending the mafia, of course. That's not what this means. Of course, they'd had their own ways of dealing with people. They did extort monies from different people. So they weren't innocent, but there was a code of conduct. How they carried themselves, how they carried their business. We don't have that. And when you have someone who has a platform like Lil Nas X, and the people, I don't want to show necessarily the video because it's disgusting, but I just want you to look at how many likes to dislikes that they had in this. And a lot of people don't like it, but there's over 28 million. I'm just going to pause it. I'm not going to share it. There's almost 28 million views. There's 1.4 million likes to 96 dislikes. You got to question, though, when they do these likes and dislikes, where is it coming from? It's my understanding that a lot of this is coming from people from overseas. It's not, I know it's not the traditional Black Americans here in this country that like this video. There's over 250, almost approximately 255,000 comments on here. You got mostly, I'm looking at this, looks like foreigners that are commenting on this. Iconic. So the Old Town Road he was speaking of is actually a pole that leads to hell. The director says, how many actors do you want? Just one. From riding horses to writing Satan. Lil Nas X has come a long way. See, people are not watching. The people saying this stuff, it is not the black community that's pushing this. And let's be real about something. This was the part of the video. I already said I wasn't going to show it, but yeah, he's basically like a snake. I'm going to stop because I don't want Sharon to get hit with a copyright statute, a copyright claim, because just by showing a video like what happened with Sister Shakur, Queen Shakur, she got in trouble with it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's absolutely great. And like I said, in the entertainment industry, you guys can look up, and I don't know what if you subscribe to a particular faith or so forth, but there are some platforms, but I think that do talk about this, although they may be right wing, if you want to say, or they lean towards the Republicans and so forth. However, you can check that out because they do have a great source of information. There was a documentary called The Devil's Playground. It's a small, I wouldn't say a documentary, but if you go to churchmilitant.tv, it is a Catholic organization website, Catholic news media organization, The Devil in Hollywood. They did a report on it. And, when you look at it and listen to it and see some of the things they talk about, whether you believe in God or not, whether you believe in Jesus or not, but, I personally do. But there is something to be said about the imagery and the message that's being pushed. And, when I look at the Hollywood films, they are pushing more and more a homosexual agenda. They are pushing, uh, even to some degree, forms of, pedophilia. They've gone far with stuff like this. I didn't understand. You wouldn't understand it at first, but now when you were a kid coming up, like the most I would have seen, I remember as a kid, I was a teenager when Madonna kissed Britney Spears. That I remember watching that at I think it was the MTV Music Awards, if I'm not mistaken. I'll never forget that scene and how the camera cut to Justin Timberlake real quick, right when it happened, and how he looked. I remember things like that. I remember, uh, someone showed me some of the Disney films where they actually would show a Disney character, or in the background they had things that related to things of a sexual nature. Even watching Who Framed Roger Rabbit, I saw where they had Roger Rabbit, Daffy Duck calling Goofy. It sounded like he called him a nigger. Yeah, Mary J. Blige was there. She was disgusted. Yeah, she was right next to him. That's when she came out with No Drama. I remember that. But they really do push it. I mean, they don't make quality films like talking about it. We saw more than Jessica Rabbit's fruit. She was she was tits up there. We saw that. We also saw, some curse words in there. That was stuff. It was. You'll probably never see a film like that again either, because it just costs too much money to make. And yeah, I remember, seeing that. And then another thing, I remember as a kid, even the Little Mermaid. I remember the little Pope that had a heart on as he was talking to, giving the performing a wedding ceremony. Yeah, I remember Prince was doing that too. You're right. Prince had the butt out jeans. I remember when the Living Color made fun of him doing that. Jamie Foxx pretending to be Prince. Butt Out Jeans by Prince. They're everything they're cracked up to be. That was funny. What's up, Steve? But Hollywood makes no secrets about the agenda that they are pushing and what they're trying to do with children. Um, just recently, today, what I've seen in the last few weeks from laws that have been passed, it was reported earlier this year that they have to read LGBT history in certain schools, like schools in Illinois. They also have a curriculum in Jersey. There was an article, shout out to Brother Bernard. I don't know if he's still here, but Bernard sent this article to me where a college priest, Christian professor out at the University, Shawnee State University in Ohio, he recently won a federal appeals court decision claiming that his rights to free speech and free exercise of religion was violated when they disciplined him, referring to the school, for referring to a biological male student as Mr. instead of Ms. as the student requested. He sued the university, claiming that policy ordering faculty members to use students' preferred pronouns violated his religious belief that biology, not identity, determines where a student is, whether a student is a Mr. or a Mrs. And Trump-appointed Judge Amul Tapper wrote in his 32-page decision that the philosophy professor's First Amendment right has indeed been clearly violated. The First Amendment interests are especially strong here because Meriwether's speech also relates to his core religious and philosophical beliefs. If professors lacked free speech protections when teaching, a university would wield alarming power to compel ideological conformity. Topper, who wrote the New York Post notes, was in the running to replace the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the United States Supreme Court, also wrote, the ruling will now, enable Meriwether to sue for damages. So that actually I agree with. You can all check out this article here. I didn't share it with you on the screen, but it came from elizabethjohnson.org. You can check that out and look at that. I will put it in the chat until I can get a chance to copy everything, and it's not letting me copy it. But all right, I'll just. Come on, you damn thing. Okay. Christ. Yeah. So this is just one. So this is part of the larger grand scheme of things. It is an attack on the family because, look, our children, like I said earlier, are not home all the time, and they are not there at a point where we can watch and keep tabs on them when they're with their friends, when they're with their classmates. They're going to be talking about this stuff just like we were when we were kids. We would talk and say things that there we go. We would talk and say things that we weren't allowed to say around our families. We weren't allowed to bring it home. So it doesn't surprise me that this stuff now is being talked about. That's the link to the article if you want to check that out. It doesn't surprise me now that they're trying to push this full straight on. And like I say, it's a good thing because we are seeing it full-fledged. They're not hiding it. They certainly are not hiding it now. I see Nicole is watching. What's up, Nicole? because she just liked it. Shout out to her. We've gone from Old Town Road to Old Town Butthole. Old Town Road to Old My Butthole. Because that's what he's breaking for Satan. I mean, this was flat out wicked. And this is the YouTube page. It's called Mic'd Up. It's called The Devil in Hollywood.
The story that I haven't shared and I haven't been talking about. I wanted to specifically talk with you guys about it because I think that you're always fighting for the truth.
There's a lot in here. Y'all can take a look at it.
Hollywood, California. The world-famous neighborhood
I
located
don't
in Los
know
Angeles
if I can get in trouble for sharing it, so I'm trying not to.
Hollywood Hills. The sign originally read Hollywood Land.
But I want to go ahead. Let me put that in there. Yeah. And I think it was shout out to Computer Robots. He said he was unaware of Hollywood's agenda. Hollywood has always had an agenda in pushing, Satanism. Of course, now, at one point, we didn't see anything like that in the films growing up as a kid that we saw in the 80s and 90s. Certainly we didn't have things of, well, I'm not going to say we didn't have movies of a sexual nature because there were sex in some of these movies. There was a lot of violence in it. There was action. But the main thing we liked about those films, too, was that there was also, as young boys, there was a reference and a liking to masculinity. And when you saw Hollywood actors and characters a la James Bond or Indiana Jones or Batman even, although these were fake or fictional characters, they all carried with them a sense of purpose. They had bravery. They had principles of bravery. They swore the principles of you had patriotism. You also saw masculinity. They bled and sweat being a man and what manhood was about, and not cowering even in the face of danger. Sorry, I got people in the house while I'm doing this recording live. So you have people. So those types of movies that we saw where men were allowed to be men and be bold, be brave, be vigilant, stand in the face of danger. Even when you look at the science fiction films like Back to the Future, where Marty McFly's dad, George McFly, in the first Back to the Future, he stands up to the bully. Same thing when you look at movies like 3 O'Clock High. The boy stands up to the bully. And some things were, more family oriented. You certainly could not get away with having 2 men or 2 women on a show. That was not, on a movie screen living together like a man and a woman would if they were married. If you saw anything like that, if we saw that on television, like I'll never forget an episode of Married with Children where Al Bundy was visited by the husband of a man who was seemingly dating Peg. And Al Bundy was the husband who visited Al, actually was played by Dan Castellaneta, who is the voice of Homer Simpson. And when we saw that episode, and we talked, in the minute he said, "Your wife is having an affair with my husband," Al Bundy was like, "Your husband? Your husband?" That was something unheard of. It was a joke. It was funny. Nobody would take it serious back in 1991, but now, it's legal. Now it's the norm. I see Tariq is doing a live stream. He called, if you guys take a look, let me share the screen. He actually is doing a video on this topic. He calls it corporate buck breaking. If you look in the right-hand corner, right there. I don't want to simulcast his stream. But this is the documentary. It's, I don't, if you want to call it a mini, I'm going to say it's a mini documentary from Church Militant TV. It's only 13 minutes long. It has over 1.2 million views. I think it's important to probably just take a look at it. Now, whether you subscribe to, you know, you may have your issues with, personally with Christianity. People have their issues with the Catholic Church. That's on you, you know, that's a personal thing that you have. You know, of course, you guys know that I'm Catholic and I believe in Christ, my personal beliefs. I look at this though, and certainly these guys also got to believe in God. I believe in Christ because they're worshiping the devil. And you can't have God without the devil. You can't have one without the other. So they know exactly what they're doing. Children are watching Lil Nas X. Children are watching. So look, we've gone from, let me show you the connection. 2 weeks ago, the Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B did the performance of WAP at the Grammys. And we had people, there were people, of course, praising it. There were also people condemning it. I think more people were condemning it because children were watching this and you had fools that actually supported it. And there was actually complaints sent to CBS that they received from the FCC. Some people wrote, why was the performance okay? Let me show you. Why was that performance okay, but Pepe Le Pew is offensive? Well, that's a good point. I think it's a fair point. How is it that Pepe Le Pew gets canceled? A cartoon, a 75-year-old cartoon, is the latest victim, is a fictional character, by the way. I shouldn't even have to say fictional. It's a cartoon. That's canceled. But Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion are praised. You had Maxine Waters praising WAP. Praising WAP. An 80-year-old woman that praises wet ass poof. I don't know, maybe she misses it at her age. You know, Maxine Waters saying that. Yeah, I went there. And I'm not going to be a hypocrite and sound like I'm some prude because I will watch this stuff. I watched the video. I'm not saying, you know, I am not a prude. You know, I believe in free speech. Yes, I do believe in that. But let's be real about this. You're 80 years old. You're an 80-year-old woman. You're an 80-year-old woman out there in Los Angeles. You're praising a rap artist who's encouraging black women, young black girls, that it's okay to be promiscuous. And maybe and Jaleel, maybe you got a point that you say she's bandwagon. I don't believe that. You can tell a lot by a person's spirit and how they carry themselves and how they act. Or who knows, you know, at her age, you know, WAP, she might be getting Alzheimer's. She probably thought it's short for WAPA. If she were more excited about getting some economic development out there in Los Angeles, Because everything I've heard out there in LA, because everything I've heard in her district is one of the poorest, downtrodden, disenfranchised districts in this country, up in Los Angeles, just like we got here in New Orleans, just like we got in Atlanta, even parts of Atlanta. Atlanta is not Wakanda. I love Atlanta. They got some. Hey, look, compared to New Orleans, Atlanta got a lot more going on than what we got out here. I give them that. But when John Lewis was there, and I don't speak ill of the dead, when you have these Democrats that are just running these areas, they have done very little to nothing to promote the well-being of their constituents, those that put them in office, their communities. And I don't want to sound like I'm just ranting about this stuff all the time, because I talk about it, but you have to have a black woman, an 80-year-old black woman, talk about that. And I know for a fact, let's just reverse the roles. When Tupac came out with Get Around and Hit 'Em Up, remember, he got criticized by the likes of the late I believe it was Dorothy Height. I'm wrong. It's not Dorothy. Or was it? No. Not Dorothy Height, excuse me. C. Dolores Tucker. That's who it is. I'm sorry. I was wrong. C. Dolores Tucker. She led a campaign against gangster rap. And I'm pretty sure if Tupac had talked about WAP or Biggie Smalls, y'all know good and daggone well, no Maxine Waters was going to get on Zoom, if they had it back then, and praise Tupac Shakur. Let's be real. But this is the article about the complaints that the FCC sent received from sent off to CBS. Dallas broadcaster WFAA, which is the CBS affiliate, obtained the complaints by filing an information request with the FCC, gaining access to the criticisms of over 80 disgruntled viewers. The pair performed the clean version of the song rather than the explicit original, but their outfits and choreography were described by many complainants as pornographic, with one saying they looked as if they were dancing in the stripper club. Hey, Cardi B is a former stripper. Old habits die hard. I said CBS affiliate. WFAA is ABC affiliate, excuse me. And they had their lowest ratings of that night, too. They had like a 52% drop. Their core audience wasn't even watching this. People wrote that the network should face very stiff penalties. Said they criticized Megan Thee Stallion being barely dressed in a thong and showed naked look-alike legs. We're not sure what look-alike legs are, but Megan Thee Stallion wore a purple one-piece, while Cardi B wore a neon purple and metallic two-piece outfit. They wouldn't let a man get up on stage performing this stuff. Y'all know good and damn well that wouldn't happen. There was a time when what's up, Rosalind? There was a time when music and I remember the Grammys. I remember when the Soul Train Awards. I talked about this the last live stream. They actually had artists perform songs, and those songs were real. They came from a real place. You can't get that anymore. And to have people, like your Lil Nas X, Lil Bussy X, come out and try to blame the black community by saying it's homophobic and made them feel insecure. Shut your lying up. Shut your lying behinds up. Please. This is an attempt, ladies and gentlemen, to destroy black masculinity. There's an attack on masculinity in general, which affects all men. Doesn't matter what their skin color is, but there's an attack, and especially on the family, the traditional family unit itself has come under attack, and they don't hide it. But black men in particular, we know from the history of Jim Crow, they have always tried to keep black men from, obviously interacting with white women. There was always that fear of a black man planting his seed in a white woman. They destroyed black wealth. They destroyed communities, not just Black Wall Street, but also even currently with predominantly black areas with gentrification. They've prevented black businesses from growing with your business loans, how you get denied a business loan by certain banks, but yet you can get a mortgage note. You can get a car note because they know if you have the car note and the mortgage, you're going to be paying that for a very long time. So when you're paying things for a long time, there's interest that attaches to that, especially if you fail to show up with the interest on a certain date. They can repossess stuff. But if your business is successful and you're making money and you're paying your bills on time, well, that you can get out of debt immediately. This was disgusting to why. Getting back to Lil Bussy X, this was disgusting. And to see people co-signing it, people like, like I said, I mentioned Jack K, but Jack K is not even serious anymore. Jack K hasn't been relevant since Sister went off the air. Jack K has not been relevant, so for her to even say something like that, I don't even take her seriously. You had Rosie O'Donnell say some crap too the other day about Whitney Houston, talking about how the black community let her down. I was going to do a video on it, but Rosie O'Donnell, she can do us all a favor and keep quiet and by going back to the buffet when it opens after COVID is cleared up in New York, because that's where she's from. I never liked Rosie O'Donnell. She actually said one thing that was positive when she was talking about 9/11, but she talked about how was conflicted by that Whitney Houston was conflicted by her sexuality. Whitney Houston, why would she even bring that up? Whitney Houston is dead. Black people have always, we don't support certain things. Like that's kind of the way it was. I was talking to my cousin and we were having a conversation, and my cousin mentioned the fact that, how we were coming up as kids, how he was coming up, they didn't talk about, we saw people, or if we knew people that were gay or people that were in, sexual relationships and things of that nature, people that were gay, if we saw them, we looked at them like something was wrong with them, but we never hurt anybody. We had our suspicions about it, but that was not something that was promoted. That was not something that was shared. You didn't talk about that publicly. And there were people who were certainly, we suspected. She said Whitney Houston was conflicted by her sexuality. The queen of lice. I call her the queen of rice. Who cares what I don't even care what Rosie O'Donnell thinks. You know, she's one of those, I'm glad that she actually, Donald Trump and her, of course, don't get along. And what I noticed is that people wanted to get rid of Donald Trump just because they don't like Trump. They had a problem with the things he said. And Trump, though, I would give Trump, though, did not mess with black people like talking about it, even though, yes, he said things that were racist, certainly. He certainly, his base he catered to were filled with white supremacists. There's no question about that. But traditionally, as president, while he didn't grant black Americans, and he did grant black Americans certain things, he did not exactly attack black people in a certain way. One positive thing I could say is he has not started a major war. Whereas now we're looking at Biden, we're looking at Harris, and the policies that they're trying to and have introduced, they are directly having a negative impact on the black community and black Americans, especially that older generation. And I gotta call them out always, that collard greens and vote, or whatever it is, souls to the polls, that those groups of Negroes, they're the biggest problem we're facing. They, of course, they worship it, you ain't got Donald Trump out of office, and now they have been quiet like mice. I haven't heard anything from some of my elders about it because they've noticed the stuff that Biden has supported. In his first 2 weeks as president, he signed more executive orders than even Donald Trump. He was second to only Franklin Delano Roosevelt in terms of executive orders, and everything he signed was for either LGBTQ or for immigrants. He signed executive orders to protect damn illegal immigrants. They got money right now that's waiting on them to come in this country. The Congress just passed the American Dreamers Act. It hasn't been ratified in the Senate, so let me correct that. About Congress, I mean the House. They've also passed the Equality Act in the House. The Senate has not ratified it. Biden is already talking about crime bills. He's talking about an anti-Asian hate bill. We don't even have that. There's no hate crimes bill for black people. Oh, that Civil Rights Act and that Voting Rights Act of 1964-65, yes, that gave tangibles to black people, but then other groups have attached to that. The problem with the black baby boomers, and that includes even my parents in that generation, is that they, I'm speaking in general, they did not leave a legacy for their children. They were the first in their families to actually go to college and get degrees, which, yes, that's a major accomplishment. It's a major accomplishment, but the problem with it too is that while it was a major accomplishment, we didn't get anything, they didn't leave anything for our people. How many of our kids know anything about when your parents died? How many of you have actually written a will leaving your things for your children? How many? Who actually writes wills? Or created a trust fund? Telling them about life insurance. so that they can take care of themselves when they're gone. Those are serious things you need to talk with your children about. Building a business that they can run and pass down from generation to generation. Look at Brunswick. That's a company that's been around since the 1800s. Still going strong. Whether it's bowling alleys, whether it's the Brunswick Records at one point, music industry, they were build offices and buildings. It was a corporation that did everything. Yamaha is the same way. Some damn Rosie O'Donnell. All of these women, you know, I saw Sharon Stone even trying to change stuff up, talking about she got coerced into doing that scene. I wanted to do a video on that, but that was some BS too. Coerced my ass. You took the money. You took the money and showed that kitty cat. The most paused scene in movie history. They offered you $5 million. You said, hey, I'll do Michael Douglas. If you throw in $2, heck, if you have me with another woman, I'll do it for $3. $3 more million. Add 3 on top of that. That's $10 million. I remember Sharon Stone was the hottest woman in Hollywood at that time in the early 90s. I wasn't allowed to watch, you know, Basic Instinct or Fatal Attraction. Anything that had strong sexual content in it, you know, my parents, they didn't let me watch it. You know, like most kids, although I could watch RoboCop and see a man get his hand blown off, or a man get stabbed with a large spike in his neck. I can see that. I can watch Predator. But if it got too bad, if there was a lot of language in it, if there was a lot of sex in it, they would send us all in the back, and we had to play video games and stuff and wait by the hallway door just to listen to see what they were up to. So y'all just think about all this stuff, man. So this crap that's going on, Butterflies doesn't agree with me. Well, just look at it. I mean, she's saying, I want to do a separate video on it. But I mean, I grew up, I remember when that movie dropped. You know, I certainly don't think she was coerced into doing that. I mean, even before that, she had movies that she did. I remember a movie she did right after this called The Specialist with Sylvester Stallone. She got naked in that. She tells Vanity Fair how doing Basic Instinct broke me. All these women, all this Me Too crap that's coming out, more and more and more. I mean, yes, they do. Well, look, they have their wealth handed down to them. It's handed down generation to generation. So I think that most of them, yes, they've been exposed more to the law. They've been, you know, especially being around their families. They've been brought up to learn how to run businesses now. That's not to say that certain black families don't run businesses and keep them in the family. Of course, that does happen. But when we're talking about generational wealth, when we're talking about closing the median gap, where blacks are still at the bottom compared to whites, you're talking about even the average medium middle class white family may make 7 times more than the average middle class black family. There's a problem with that. That's a generational thing. Like I say again, that stuff is passed on from generation to generation. You said your father was different. Butterfly says, I'm saying to my mom, who didn't keep me from watching certain movies. We spoke openly about certain things. My father was different. So your daddy kept you from watching it. Okay. Well, not both my parents kept me from watching certain stuff. Me and my brother. We couldn't watch I never forget that movie, Double Impact with Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I was watching it the other day actually. And Jean-Claude Van Damme's one of the characters he was playing, he was actually doing a dual role as twin brothers, was drunk and had hallucinations that his brother was having an affair with his girlfriend. And there was a part where they got naked and started having sex in his hallucination. And my mom put her hands over my eyes. And of course, I can see still through the cracks a little bit. And I knew what was going on. And I said, when are they going to finish yet? And everybody just bust out laughing when I said that. Because I knew when you saw something of a sexual nature, your parents would cover your eyes. So I knew what was going on. We're talking about, they want to blame the black community for all of this. And, a majority, like I said again, a majority of those tweets, those likes and comments that you saw, that came from people from overseas that were watching it, or whites who watched it. Because, Lil Nas X, he went from being poor, and, I read his story about how he wrote that song, Old Town Road, and how it came about. And you like to hear stories where somebody is struggling and the brother comes out with a hit. And remember, when Lil Nas came out, there was controversy because they did not want his song to be part of the country, to get nominated for a Grammy, because they didn't consider it to be a country song. They considered it to be rap, and they wanted nothing to do with that. Remember, Beyonce had a country song that she did that the Grammys wouldn't even honor. They fought hard tooth and nail to keep. Let me see if I can pull that article up, because we got to go in on, and black people support him. We got to go in on this month. And let me just clarify too. I want to show this because I think it was someone had asked about the shoes. Well, because Lil Nas X actually had a shoe that he wanted to. I almost forgot this part. Let me share this. Hold on. A shoe with blood that was going to happen in it. And now they're saying, this is from NBC News, they're saying that that's not the case. Nike is denying, and they're distancing themselves from this nigga. They're distancing themselves from Lil Nas X. They're saying the sneaker is to be, first and foremost, who can buy a sneaker like this? They're apparently modified Nike Air Max 97s. They are decorated with a pentagram pendant and a reference to Luke 10:18, a Bible verse about Satan's fall from heaven. Remember, Satan was kicked out of heaven when he was named Lucifer at that time. Lucifer, by its very translation, it means fallen star, falling light. They call him Lucifer the light bearer. They said they'll be sold for $1,018. Who can afford this crap, by the way? And news of this spread, and this is supposedly he's collaborating with a company called MSCHF on the pair of Satan shoes. And you've had, of course, the people on the right. Who's going to buy this shit? Who's going to buy this crap? Excuse me. Look at that. Now that's the Nike check marks on them. And this Negro, he's got black finger polish on. He's got daddy issues. He's got the pentagram on the front lace. He's even got, I guess that's a demon or that's Satan. You got souls in hell. Nike is distancing themselves from him. This is the same company that released the quote-unquote Jesus shoes, which contain what it described as holy water and its soul drawn from the River Jordan. And then he released a video trying to apologize for his Satan shoe. Hold on, let me see if I can play. Let's play a little Bussy. I gave up cursing for Lenten. I've been slipping tonight because I'll put some money in the poor drawer.
I see everybody's been talking about this shoe, and I just want to come forward and say,
oh, I didn't know he was going to play that. God. It was a trick. So before I got to the apology, so he's not sorry about it. And I remember when he came out talking about how hard it was being gay and in the black community. Negro, you grew up in Atlanta. That's the black gay capital. Kevin Hart was even calling you out about it, talking about, well, I think the biggest. Remember when he had the barbershop, when LeBron James had the barbershop conversations, and Lil Nas X, and let's be real, Lil Nas X didn't start coming out gay and doing all this stuff until he started making money. Just like Caitlyn Jenner didn't come out as transgender when he was Bruce Jenner until he got in trouble with the law about 10 years ago, 10, it was about what, 7 or 8 years ago. You recalled when he hit that other person, he hit a man, killed a woman in a car accident and was about to go to jail. Never went to jail, never got punished, nothing like that happened. This is corporate buck breaking. Like Tariq said, it is buck breaking. And they don't hide it. But Nike has distanced themselves from this. They don't want this. He comes out, he came out. Y'all read the article from NBC News. He came out on the last day of Pride Month back in June of 2019 after Old Town Road's chart-topping success. success. We don't have any black heroes that they can't promote. And we got this fool. No straight black men. You know, they have tried to, and it was Eric Benet who said this, how they've tried real hard to erase black people from R&B and make whites make white people the new R&B kings. Remember in 2013, there was no black person that topped the Billboard 100 that whole year. Not even Pharrell. When Pharrell was featured on Blurred Lines, that's the year Blurred Lines came out. That was actually, he was a feature, so he didn't count. Neither did T.I. He was a feature, he didn't count. The music industry, as Al said, is dangerous. Even the songwriters don't get paid, the top songwriters don't even get paid the highest amount of money. So we got to be mindful about what's going on here, man. You playing with some sick stuff. He's talking about, I had a hard time with homosexuality, but you lived in Atlanta. The Flaming Queens are out there. And speaking of which, let me also address this. I got to do another video on it. But did y'all see this? I've seen this thing going around with regards to, I'm about to get out of here, with the WNBA and the amount of money that women are making. They want equal pay for women comparative to men. So they've been tweeting comparisons, for instance, I think between Sue Bird and LeBron James. I've seen this poster that's going around. Let me just say this. Nobody that I know in general, if you look at the ratings, nobody watches the WNBA. There's a reason why the WNBA, the women make the money that they make, is inconsequential to the men of the NBA. You know why it's that? It's because it's more popular. The NBA is more popular. Women don't even watch y'all. Women don't watch the WNBA. There's an article back in 2010. Jeff Pearlman wrote, "Why the WNBA will never be as popular as the NBA." He says here, during the past 1.5 decades, I'm reading part of the article. Let me just share it with you all so y'all could see this. Absolutely, positively, everything under the sun has been tried in the name of WNBA popularity. There have been creative ad campaigns and admirable player outreach efforts. There has been expansion and relocation and contraction, blockbuster trades, and highly touted #1 picks. In 2007, the WNBA and ESPN reached an 8-year television agreement, thus assuring high-impact exposure. WNBA players take part in the NBA's All-Star Weekend, and at the conclusion of all games, sign autographs until their fingers bleed. When Lisa Leslie and Candace Parker dunked, the videos were distributed en masse and replayed hundreds of times. Writer's note, I'll say what nobody else has. The dunks were boring. Yes, they were women, and that's sort of cool, but a straight ahead dunk is a straight ahead dunk. Or as a wise man once said, if Darwin Cook can do it, it's not so special. Okay? It sucks. In other words, the WNBA's, listen to this, he goes further. Despite all this, however, the league continues to dwell in anonymity. The action is all but ignored by the media, reduced to a tiny standings box on the bottom of the local newspaper's gate section. When the 2009 5-game championship series between Phoenix and Indiana averaged a puny 0.4 rating on ESPN2, that's 548,000 by comparison, and it's admittedly not a fair one. Game 5 of the NBA Finals drew 18.2 million viewers. The league celebrated the 73% rise from the previous season as if it had discovered a new planet. In other words, the WNBA's emergence is a mathematical, sociological impossibility. It has not happened. It will not happen. It cannot happen. No matter how many women dunk, no matter how incredible the payoff action might seem, no matter if the league expands to Las Vegas and Cancun and hires the cast members of Glee to hand out $100 bills to everyone. This is old. To every customer. Well, the WNBA. Well, the WNBA is what it is, a fringe entity. I couldn't tell you most of the teams in the league, says Ross Benson, the former editor of Slam magazine, and as devoted a basketball junkie as the world knows. I couldn't name the Liberty starting five or the Chicago starting five. I couldn't tell you who the top 3 draft picks were. In fact, I'm not sure whether I could tell you who the number 1 pick was without a hint. Except for a tiny fan base, people just don't have an interest. For the past 14 years, league employees have been trying to figure out why. Surveys have been conducted. Marketing experts have tossed out every possible slogan. This year, expect great. The answer, however, is simple and at this point obvious. The majority of sports fans simply don't crave women's professional basketball. That's just what it is. Nobody's watching. You're the CBS morning. You're the no, not even CBS morning when Brian Gumbel was hosting it because it was bad then. You're Al Sharpton on Sunday on MSNBC at 6 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's watching you. And they had the nerve today to talk about the pay gap. Look, let me just say this. I know how and why you could get them to watch. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. A lot of men, we don't like seeing ugly women. Men don't like, I'm being real. They like to see like the lingerie league that was back in, 10 years ago that used to call it the LFL, Lingerie Football League. Yeah, a lot of men watch that. Let's be real. Sex sells. I remember, you're a fool. I remember when the WNBA, this article, I think it was Candace Parker, she talked about how, was it Candace Parker? No. I said Candace Parker. I'm sorry, no, Candace Wiggins. See, that's one I know. I know Candace Parker. I know Candace Wiggins, but she wrote this. She said, "Lesbian culture broke my spirit." I'm about to get off in a second, but I got to put this up, two things up, because I'm talking about this. You know, she says there is a very, very harmful culture running through the WNBA. She says, which saw her get bullied during her 8-year career because she is heterosexual. Wiggins, who last played in the league in 2015, says she retired prematurely to leave a league that she estimated wildly is 98% lesbian, and which is played in such isolation that it weighs on the people on the court. It was like my dreams. It wasn't like my dreams came true in WNBA. It was quite the opposite. She wrote this story for the San Diego Tribune, stating, "I wanted to play 2 more seasons of in the WNBA, but the experience didn't lend itself to my mental state. It was depressing. It was a depressing state in the WNBA. It's not watched. Our value is diminished. It can be quite hard. I didn't like the culture inside the WNBA, and without revealing too much, it was toxic for me. My spirit was broken." The 30-year-old couldn't take it anymore, being harassed for being straight and fighting for attention in a league that is starved. And that leads me to what I was going to say today. You guys can, I'll put this article up too, even in the chat if you want to look at it. But Draymond Green has come under fire from some of these feminists because he talked about how the pay rate, about, you know, this thing calling for equal pay. It's based off the revenue that you bring in, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I don't think the average PBA bowler, which is mostly men, which is all men, the PBA, make a lot of money. They don't. Even back in the day, you had more advertisers that advertised for, you know, for the PBA and for bowlers. I'm going to ask you this. By a show of in the chat room, who was the first athlete to get $1 million endorsement deal? Who was the first athlete to get $1 million endorsement deal? I'm asking everybody. If you could put it in the chat room. Butterflies, I don't even think that would work because some of them got their breast removed. You had somebody that removed a player recently that removed her breast. Lacia Clarendon. That's her. She's non-binary. Jaleel guessed it. Don Carter. You probably looked on Wikipedia to find that out. Yeah, Don Carter. He was a bowler. Don Carter had several bowling lanes throughout the country, even here in Louisiana and Baton Rouge. When I lived there, that was called Don Carter's Bowling Lanes. And Don Carter was he was a Hall of Famer. He actually, I said, who was the first athlete to get $1 million endorsement deal? And it was Don Carter. And he was a bowler. And he was the first athlete to ever get $1 million endorsement deal. This was before then. He was the first athlete to get $1 million endorsement deal from Ebonite. Ebonite, of course, made all of the bowling balls, and he was actually considered one of the greatest bowlers of all time. And this was huge back then in the 1960s because $1 million, you add that up to add in inflation right now, roughly that was about, I would say, somewhere around $4 or $5 million equivalent to today. That was a first. And, he's a Hall of Famer. he was married to just, if you guys want to know, two of his wives, Laverne Carter and Paula Carter. They were both, professional bowlers. They're both in the Hall of Fame as well. But that was huge then. And so athletes, I'm saying that to mention why I mentioned Don Carter is that a lot of athletes make their money on their advertisements. Those contracts, even back then for football players back in the 50s and 60s, those players worked two jobs because at that point, football had not kicked off. It was not a popular sport in the 1940s and 1930s and 40s. It didn't become popular till the early 1960s, late 1950s when it started to kick off with at players like Johnny Unitas and Raymond Berry and Lenny Moore and things of that nature. And then Jim Brown, you had Gale Sayers, who just recently died. You had Dick Butkus and all of those guys, Ray Snitsky, all of that, started to add up, those players, and more people started to watch it. And when more people watched it, they created the Super Bowl. And when the Super Bowl came on, of course, and started to pick up, especially in the 60s when you had Joe Willie Namath with the guarantee and with the New York Jets, and then Hank Stram of the Kansas City Chiefs. And, of course, the teams in the 70s like the Cowboys and Steelers and the Raiders, it started to pick up more. It became popular. When you grow an audience, you get more money. Advertisers will flock to you. They're going to say, how much can I get for doing this Coca-Cola commercial during the Super Bowl? How much can I get for doing a Budweiser commercial during the Super Bowl? What about selling Audis? What about selling my new cars for Mercedes-Benz? They're going to put up millions of dollars now. Nobody is flocking to the WNBA. Who gives a damn? I don't care. Who actually wants to watch the WNBA? You want to watch the WNBA? Northern Belle? Rosalind, you watch it? Derek, you want to watch it? Butterflies, you want to watch it? Women don't even watch it. Nobody don't watch all them. I'm not going to say all of them are ugly because, oh boy, Dwight Howard's girl plays for in the WNBA. And she is cute. She is fine. But, they promote and push a lot of that stuff, man. Like with Lil Nas X. And you had a WNBA player recently trying to push and blame the black community for her financial situation as to why the WNBA is not popular. Nobody's interested in watching this crap. Y'all just can't. Y'all still can't. That article that was from the Sports Illustrated, that was almost 10 years ago. Guess what? 10 years later, you still suck. I'm not interested in watching it. Doesn't mean I hate women. The person who said this was the same woman I said who's non-binary. Women like her and women like Lil Nas X, these are the people that will put their sexuality over their own race. Look at this crap. She writes, the amount of black, let me put this. This is on I'm going to share it with y'all. You said they're not necessarily ugly. They ain't pretty. I'm not saying all of them. But let's be real, man. You know that those women, you know they ain't got to worry about no maternity leave now, Jaleel. I'm just saying. Not anytime soon. But look what she wrote. The amount of black women who drag our league and blame women for their problems while not making a connection to how that's exactly what white people do to you regarding your race just blows my mind. That's the double whammy of being black and a woman. But wait a minute, you're non-binary. You can't have it. You can't have it both ways. Pun intended. You can't claim I have no gender, because that's what non-binary means. I don't identify by a gender, but then say it's a double whammy of being black and a woman now. So are you saying you're a woman? But this is what Draymond said. He says, I've been seeing a lot of talk about the pay gap between the women and men, especially in sports. It's not even close, Green wrote. But let's stop allowing y'all complaints to fall on deaf ears due to numbers. As long as y'all make the argument about pay, while the revenue stays the same, they will continue to point at the revenue not being high enough to cover bigger salaries. While this is true in damn near every business, how do we take that card out of their pockets? That's the key to changing the pay. And you know, he got criticized by some of the women, like who you see here, Laisha Clarendon and Megan Rapinoe. They disputed his claims. And Draymond is saying, look, there were people, the NBA wasn't always popular. So it took a lot of people to keep building the platform and, more importantly, telling individual stories until it took off. That's how the game took off. When it started to build interest around and stories around individual stories, the individuals, and building up the interest in the players, that's how it took off. And so they took issue to this. Shout out to the NBA. This is Clarendon speaking. She says, shout out to NBA guys who come to tell people in women's sports what we need to do to grow the game. Thanks. Now we'll ask for more resources. Tell the powers at B to tell our stories more, and generally just start to push things like the NBA. Rapinoe State pointed out in a thread of her own that Green should tell these companies asking how to do the PSAs what they've been telling the companies for years about women's empowerment and equality. And you know who largely are the gatekeepers to that money, investment, resources, capital, time, and sponsorship dollars are? Rapinoe said men. Do you know who men listen to? Other men. Men also listen to money. It's about business. It's about business. It's about business when it comes down to it, guys. Tia Cooper is Dwight Howard's girlfriend, his wife. Okay, she's fine. I'm just being real, man. Let me show a picture of her. She's She's like 12 years younger than him. Okay, so that's her. You see? Is this her? Yeah, she removed her breast. Let me show you. Hold on. This is Dwight Howard's fiance or wife. Gorgeous woman. Okay, that's her there. Okay, she's not bad looking. She's an attractive woman. I agree. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. That's the article I was even telling you about, the professor out in Ohio. Yeah, she cut this woman, Clarendon, cut her titties off. Now she wants to complain. This is the article here. Yeah, let me show you. Lord knows, guys, y'all know I do not. No, she's still a woman, but she identifies as non-binary, meaning that she does not consider herself a woman by biology. And this was the article here, Jaleel, because those pronouns will get you. This was it here. This is her. WNBA's Lacia Clarendon undergoes breast removal surgery, hopes to inspire trans athletes. That's her in a hospital. She's undergone successful surgery to have her breast removed and is now going public about it in hopes of inspiring other trans athletes. Clarendon, who identifies as non-binary, uses all pronouns. She, her, they, them, he, him. In other words, by society standards, Laisha is comfortable being referred to as a woman, but personally doesn't identify solely with one specific gender. So she's okay with being called a woman, but still doesn't want to identify as being a woman. And yet you wonder why people don't watch the WNBA. I met there was a basketball player for LSU, Simone Augustus. She was a sweetheart. She was very nice, but she was a full-out lesbian. I remember when she got married, when she got quote-unquote married. I mean, nobody. Who's watching this? And look, people have a right to live the life that they want. I mean, I don't identify with it personally, but but damn, I mean, you can't have it both ways. But my point being, with all of this stuff, you know, it looks like they want it both ways. Yeah, but this is confusion. So who wants to watch confusion? Who's gonna watch the WNBA? And most importantly, we ain't gonna watch Lil Nas X or Bussy X. I didn't watch his crap. I didn't buy it then. I won't buy it now. And it's clear he's not sorry for what he was doing with this. You know, we were talking about Here Comes Satan Claus. That was the topic for tonight, guys. but y'all should not buy, his albums again. Well, I'm glad that we had this time to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. That has been it for me. But yeah, y'all watch out for what's going on. And please, I need you guys, you see the ticker at the bottom. Please donate to the Cash App. Please donate to Google Pay. Please donate to the PayPal if you can. Yeah, he'll be sorry about it one day. When these guys have children, when these guys get older, they're going to realize, because this is on video. This is on the internet. Forget video, it's on the internet. Everybody and anybody can see this for years to come. And when they have children, when they're in their 50s and 60s, even not even that much, if they get older, they will realize, damn, what did I do? What was I thinking? Should I have not done this? Maybe I could have tried something else. They will have a life of regret to live. And you try not to live your life with regrets. You try to live life to the fullest. You live your life to the fullest, because you never know when the day will come when you are no longer here. And we all, I believe, one day have to answer, me included, for things that I've done on earth. I believe that personally. Some people may not, but I think that does happen. But I'm not into watching Lil Nas X and his crap. I didn't buy it then. I wouldn't buy it now. And like I said, even those, you make your money with your athletes, with your advertisements, you got to get rid of these advertisers too that support that. But you see, Nike is distancing themselves because they know that Bible Belt, they have a lot of money back there, and they are not going to take kindly to anybody mocking the Lord. Even black people, we don't take kindly to it. Now, we may not, we'll talk about it in a barbershop and so forth, but honestly, most of us don't even boycott these things anymore. We don't even do that. So develop a code of conduct. Let's see what we can do. I always say build black businesses, look into buying and owning your own so that we don't have to see things like this. And it's easy for us to go where we want. But that has been tonight's show. That has been today's broadcast. This has been Gavin Richard with another episode of Gavin Richard Presents here on Channel Gboot2786 on Facebook and on YouTube. Shout out to all who have watched. Shout out to Jaleel1814, who's been around. Shout out to Butterfly70, Derek Bailey, Roslyn. I hope you guys can please share and like this video. Put something in the Cash app if you can. Lamiko Cardina says, come on now, we all know what type of women watch the WNBA. I love that Love and Basketball movie. Yeah. Well, she stayed straight, but I mean, she was practically one of the only straight women in the movie. It was a movie, though, Rosalind. It was a movie. All right, computer robots. Please, guys, don't forget to donate to the Cash App if you want to continue seeing this. Shout out to Valerie Denise Jones as well, because Valerie was here checking out the knowledge that was being dropped. Shout out to Valerie. She's the producer of the Judge Joe Brown Show. Shout out to Steve Mack, K Jr. I already said Jaleel. We got Donald Washington. He always comes in. Shout out to you. I don't know if Zanae J is a subscriber, but shout out to her. Please subscribe. Please like. Please donate, guys. And I will see you all in the next one. I'll holla. Peace.